If you've been shopping recently, you've likely noticed prices on everything are on the rise. Statistically, inflation appears to be at the highest level or highest rate in about 30 years. We're going to spend a few minutes today talking about how deferring Social Security can be an excellent strategy to hedge against persistently high inflation. Stick around. Now, if you asked a financial planner for a worst-case economic environment for retirees, they'd probably describe something a lot like the 1970s when investment returns were very poor and inflation was very high. Take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average during the 1970s. It basically went nowhere the entire decade. In fact, if you calculate the average annual return, not including dividends, it came out to less than 0.5% per year. Meanwhile, inflation was running hot. Over the course of the decade, inflation averaged over 7%, which means, in effect, prices doubled over the decade, again, while stock prices were going nowhere. Another way to put this is if your portfolio was flat, and meanwhile, inflation was running at 7% a year, meaning prices doubled. Well, in effect, the purchasing power of your portfolio has been cut in half. So, of course, no one knows if a 1970s-like decade is directly in front of us. But if it is, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about why deferring Social Security would be a very effective strategy to hedge against this possibility, which is a major risk for most retirees. So one of the reasons Social Security is such a valuable asset for retirees is it's adjusted for inflation. And you can see up here all the cost of living adjustments going back to 1970. Of note, before 1975, as indicated up in the table, cost of living adjustments required congressional legislation. So literally Congress would have to pass a law making an adjustment. Since 1975, cost of living adjustments have been automatically granted on an annual basis based off the Consumer Price Index, or one version of the Consumer Price Index. Now, the other key point is Social Security gives deferral credits for those who delay Social Security beyond their full retirement age all the way up to age 70. So those deferral credits are 8% a year. And for simplicity, let's just focus on those born before 1955 because the numbers are a lot cleaner. So if someone in this category who, their full retirement age Social Security benefit 66 as indicated here, if they defer all the way up to 70, they're going to get 132% of their benefit, i.e. 8% of year change. But in addition to that, they're also going to get cost of living adjustments on the way. So let's take a look at a hypothetical example. Just imagine, let's think about someone, again, who was born in 1954 or earlier. They're 66 and they're thinking about whether or not to delay Social Security. Let's assume they did, and let's further imagine that the next 4 years mirror the end of the 1970s from an inflation perspective. Take a look at how that person's delayed or deferred Social Security benefit would end up. It's pretty extraordinary. So we'll just say we'll use $2,500, for instance, is this person's full retirement age 66 benefit. Well, if we experience a series of inflation like the late 70s, take a look at these annual cost of living adjustments this person would receive on this benefit. So in addition to that, and remember, in this example, we're assuming this person is delaying 4 years to get the maximum age 70 benefit. Again, I want to emphasize that they're going to get these annual cost of living adjustments, which is going to increase their $2,500 annual benefit up to nearly $3,300. But they're also going to get those 8% annual deferral credits, or 4 years of deferral credits, which is an additional 32% bump. So this person deferring would end up with that actually nearly double their Social Security benefit by waiting till age 70. And the other key factor here, or a really important point to remember, is all future cost of living adjustments would now be made on this much higher benefit base. Another way to look at this is if this person did draw at age 66, well, yeah, they'd get their cost of living adjustments, and 4 years later, when they're age 70, they'd be getting about $3,300 per month. But for deferring, they're getting an extra $1,000 a month, and again, on top of that, all future cost of living adjustments will be on top of that larger base. Now, of course, there's no free lunch. To get the max age 70 benefit, you're foregoing 4 years of smaller benefits, and this kind of gets into break-even analysis, but that's beyond the scope of what I want to talk about here. What I want to point out is in this scenario that we've been talking about, which is the nightmare scenario where stock prices are flat or potentially even negative, the point is what a person would be better off spending down their portfolio, which isn't doing anything for them, in an effort to obtain those guaranteed Social Security deferral credits, which again will also provide a larger base for future cost of living adjustments should inflation persist at a high level. So when to draw Social Security benefits is one of the most important choices retirees can make. As you can see, if inflation is high and returns are low, deferring can be a very attractive approach. But to be sure, I want to be clear that there are perhaps even more important factors that go into the best claiming strategy for you as an individual. These can include your expected longevity and survivor benefits if you're married. So look, talk to a professional if you have questions. And I'm not the greatest self-promoter, but I do want to say Social Security election strategies this is one subject I've personally invested a lot of time in because it's such an integral part of retirement planning. And this is the major focus of our firm. So please don't hesitate to reach out. This would also be a good time to ask you to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, our company website's up here. You can also even reach out with an email. As always, I want to say thanks for watching. Appreciate the comments and all the support. I hope we'll see you next time.